morning. I think it's still late morning, not quite afternoon yet. It's been a pretty busy morning for the natural state. Now, right now, we got a nice break from the rain. Actually, what you're looking at behind me is all of the rain that came through earlier this morning. We had a couple different rounds of rain moving through between midnight and 7 a.m., the end of Wake Up Central. We had a couple bands of heavy rain that moved through the state, some producing some thunderstorms, some severe thunderstorms out there. And by the end of Wake Up Central, things in central Arkansas were pretty quiet. We're going to take a look at what's happening right now. Most of us still fairly quiet, but if you take a closer look across southern Arkansas, we are starting to see some more storms developing ahead of what will be our final round, at least for now, of severe weather. Now, along that I-30 corridor, along Nevada County into Clark County, we see a little bit of thunderstorm activity down there, and then over to our southeast, Drew County, into portions of Arkansas and DeShay County, or Lincoln and DeShay County, excuse me, a little bit of rain showers out in that direction as well. Now, that part of the state, very warm, very moist this afternoon. We're seeing temperatures already in the lower 80s with dew points in the middle to even upper 70s in the southwestern quarter of the state. Now, this is kind of setting the scene for that environment we need for some storms to develop. Now, there is a risk of severe weather for eastern Arkansas today, so not necessarily as much of a concern for central Arkansas. You see here, the threat is going to be highest across the eastern, maybe quarter, eastern third of the state. There is a concern for all modes of severe weather, but I think the biggest threat this afternoon will be that hail risk. As you see, there's that dashed hail risk that extends about as far west as portions of the central Arkansas coverage area, so portions of Lincoln County into Arkansas County up to Monroe, portions of Jackson County and Woodruff County as well under that enhanced dash risk, where you could see up to tennis ball sized hail, 2-inch size hail, pretty large hail expected for, locations north and east of the Little Rock Metro. The tornado threat, again, that's highest mainly across those counties that hug the Mississippi River. And then those gusty, damaging winds, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, most probable to eastern Arkansas, but there is a little bit of that risk here in central Arkansas as well. Now, we were talking about with the storms that moved through overnight into this morning that there was a flooding component with that. We had a flood watch and everything, but we have a small flooding component with this round, not as much as what we saw overnight. So I don't see the National Weather Service issuing any type of flood alert other than the active flood warnings we have for some of those waterways that saw that heavy rainfall overnight. But this is mainly for northeastern Arkansas, some of those north central Arkansas counties included in this marginal flood risk. But I don't think we'll get as much rain this afternoon as what we saw yesterday is the point. Now, when we look at our high resolution models, they are in some sort of agreement that over the next hour, we're going to see some storms developing to our south. And, you just saw a second ago, we're already along that I-30 corridor starting to pick up some activity on radar. But over the next hour, we're going to see which one of these models wins. The graph, which is the one to your left-hand side, is keeping that activity by the lunch hour when we're hopefully joining us on air at THV 11 News at noon, mainly confined to that I-30 corridor, versus the HER model, which is the one to the right-hand side of your screen, has that coverage a little bit more scattered over the southern and southeastern portions of the state. Now, again, taking us back to that severe risk, it is highest across eastern Arkansas. So we're going to see, again, which one of those models wins with the scenario. But I'll tell you, even with this risk of severe weather, the enhanced risk, the dash risk to our east, rain coverage is going to be very spotty. It's not going to be scattered to widespread like what we saw last night. In fact, if you live in the Little Rock Metro and areas west of that, you're probably not going to see much more rain today, especially up in northwest Arkansas. I know there were reports of a tornado near Fayetteville, waiting on confirmation from the National Weather Service with that, which they've already said they're not going to be able to send teams out today because we are, watching for what's to come this afternoon. But over the coming days, we'll get more confirmation from northwest Arkansas, as well as, reports coming out of Hot Spring County of some probable damage. But I say all that to say, what we saw last night, we're not looking to see that much of a widespread coverage with this afternoon, but just definitely those counties to our east, Woodruff County, Jackson County, White County through Prairie, Monroe, Arkansas County down to Drew and Deshay to our south and east. Just make sure you're weather aware and you have multiple ways to receive warnings through the afternoon. Going back to, which models we're looking at, we're going to follow the HER model, which was the one on the right hand side of your screen when we did that comparison a second ago. And we're going to lay that with our hail risk. So it looks like the hail threat is what's going to be the highest probable risk. Now, I'll tell you, we've talked about before, these models aren't the holy grail as far as what we're going to see on radar. It just gives us an idea of the trends. And, the HER is already overperforming a little bit with how much rain is projecting at the 11 o'clock hour versus, I'll actually take this back for you to show what we have right now. Right now we're just seeing a few spotty storms along that I-30 line, and the HER is trying to be a little more aggressive with that. So again, this is just a look at the trends. This isn't exactly how radar is going to look, but this gives us an idea of what to expect moving forward, especially as we get ready to come home from school and work for the students. So over the next hour, the HER is pushing more of that storm development moving east, moving through south central Arkansas. And we've talked about with these colors before, where you see more of this teal blue color, that's saying, okay, hail is likely. But once you get into more of that purple color, it's like, okay, larger hail, almost 2-inch size hail is becoming more likely. And again, we are seeing that hail threat get pretty close to central Arkansas, not quite in the Little Rock metro, but we are seeing here on the HER model a little bit of that purple hail risk extending into portions of Lonoke and Prairie counties, with the storms moving through south central Arkansas. Now by 3 o'clock, which is around the time you're either in the school pickup line to pick the kids up from school, or the kids are getting ready to take the bus home, still tracking what could be some supercells developing in east central and southeastern Arkansas. Right now, with as far as the hail risk, most of that teal color indicating, okay, there's likely at least quarter size hail here, maybe getting closer to 2-inch size hail again, where we get into that environment that is conducive for that farther east. Now, the good news with this is not going to be an overnight threat like what we saw last night, because by 6 o'clock, we're expecting those storms to be east of the Mississippi River. And once you get into the Mississippi Delta and into northern Mississippi and central Tennessee, they have the greater risk for more of the tornadoes and the large hail and more of the severe weather through the rest of the evening. So a couple of hours really between now, because we're starting to see the first few storms developing in southern portions of Clark County down in Nevada County, kind of towards that I-30 corridor. By the time we see the sunset tonight, looking to see those clear skies, not just in western Arkansas, but for most of the state. We're going to take this back though, talk through the HER model now with our tornado risk, because there is still a risk there, especially in eastern Arkansas. But again, that storm coverage expected to be fairly limited. So 11 o'clock, the HER, like we mentioned, is already for this current time overperforming a little bit with how much we're seeing. So hopefully we're lucky and this is overperforming for the rest of the afternoon. We just have to wait and see. But we do have some of that low end tornado risk in place across south central southern Arkansas right now, as we continue through the lunch hour and those storms start to shift east, closer to southeastern Arkansas, lining up where we see a little bit more of that low end tornado fuel. So if we are to see any tornadoes, probably looking to be further east and southeast in the state this afternoon. And then by 3 o'clock, the greater risk for a tornado is going to be for our neighbors to the east of the Mississippi River. A little bit of that low end risk with that gray color stretching along those easternmost counties, and some of those storms developing along that line. But again, this line looking to move out of the state shortly after sunset, or shortly before sunset, excuse me. And as we close in on sunset, most of us, if not all of us, looking to see some clear skies and a nicer night ahead of us. Once we get this rain out of here today, we've got a nice next couple days ahead of us. Wednesday, Thursday looking drier. Once we get into your Memorial Day weekend, however, things start to change, and there's going to be a risk of some heavy rain with that. Right now, no indication of severe weather, but we do have hints at, as we get into Friday, marginal risk of flooding for the northwestern quarter of the state, and then it's a Saturday, the northern half of the state showing a risk of flooding. But if you are just now joining us, just talking ahead about what's happening this afternoon, because one more round of some storms, some of which could be strong to severe, expected this afternoon. We're already starting to see some isolated storm development across southern Arkansas, Clark County along that I-30 corridor, seeing some storms. Right now, nothing strong enough to prompt any severe thunderstorm watches or warnings, but we'll be keeping an eye on this through the afternoon and evening because the risk is there for severe weather across eastern Arkansas. And what looks like to be the trend right now is over the next hour or so, those storms looking to develop over south central Arkansas, and as they move north and east, looking to get a bit stronger before they cross the Mississippi River and really be more of a concern for our neighbors to the east. It does look like the hail threat is going to be the most probable impact we'll see here for our central Arkansas counties, where we have that dash risk that does include some of those east central Arkansas counties. Could see up to 2-inch size hail. There is the low end threat of quarter size hail for central Arkansas, but really doesn't look like our neighbors west of the Little Rock Metro are getting any more rain today, which is good. The wind threat is there as well. A lot of the storms we saw overnight were producing some of those heavy wind gusts, gusty winds 60 miles an hour or greater. Farther east, there is more of a hatch risk, and by east, I mean east of the Mississippi River. Our neighbors in Mississippi and Tennessee have more of the risk of seeing up to 80-mile-an-hour winds. So the good news is the risk isn't as high for us, but we do have that risk there for some of our neighbors. So I say all of this to say, if you get alerts this afternoon and say you live in Garland County, the alerts won't necessarily be for you. They might, however, be for your neighbors in Jackson County or in Arkansas County or DeShay County down to our southeast. There is potential there that some of these storms could produce a tornado. So Chief Meteorologist Tom Brandon or Nathan Scott might have to break in today, but this won't be something that everybody will feel the impacts of. It'll be very isolated to spotty in coverage. The good news is it looks like with this round, the hail threat is going to be the highest threat, which I say good news. Nobody likes hail, but compared to a tornado, you would prefer to get the hail. The tornado threat really looking to be more of a concern for our neighbors off to our east. I know we had some strong storms over the weekend impacting portions of Tennessee and Kentucky, and unfortunately that looks like who's going to see the brunt of this system moving through this afternoon. All of this is part of the same storm system that was approaching us last night. It's actually moving through the state today. As it moves through the state and drags that cold front with it, that's what's bringing that drier air, which is going to cut off our rain chances for a couple of days until we start to see things change and headed into the Memorial Day weekend. So we're keeping an eye on what's happening out there. Like I said, no watches or warnings right now. The watch we had this morning, that was actually canceled early. It was set to expire at 8. They took those last counties off around 7:30, which is good. That first line, that last line was moving out of here pretty quickly. And based off what the models are showing right now, storm development isn't matching up. The HER model is a little more aggressive with how much we're looking to see, but we have a couple more hours to get through, and we'll have a nice next couple days ahead of us. Now, again, not everybody's going to see the rain. Looking like the rest of the afternoon is going to be fairly nice, especially for our neighbors to our west. But you know, sometimes when not everybody is looking to see the severe weather and we get the cut-ins, that might bring some confusion for people. So this is just to offer a little clarity without making anyone concerned. There is the potential there for the eastern half of the state to see a strong storm or two. Right now, pretty isolated in coverage. This storm in southern Clark County has been growing over the past 30 minutes or so, and by the time we're checking in on air at noon, we'll probably have a little bit more activity on radar as these storms are developing. But again, the next couple of days are looking nice. Our next opportunity for rain beyond today doesn't come until Memorial Day weekend. We haven't talked much in depth about what's coming up this weekend because we've been trying to get through last night and today, but we'll have the nice couple days ahead of us. Into Friday, we start to see maybe isolated to spotty rain coverage possible. Into the weekend, spotty to scattered coverage possible. So I think probably this evening, especially during the 10 o'clock hour, Chief Meteorologist Tom Brandon will be kind of talking a little bit more about what's coming up for your holiday weekend. But make sure you are staying updated with the forecast because there will be some more opportunity for heavy rain leading to flooding with that. Right now for Friday, looking like for the northwestern quarter of the state, into Saturday, the northern half of the state, with the higher risk again to our northernmost counties. So this last round that we're seeing today is going to get us clear at least for the next couple days, and then again your holiday weekend is changing. So the bullet points of what I wanted to kind of join you to talk about today: the threat of storms we'll see this afternoon, storms starting to develop in south central Arkansas, but the greatest threat for severe storms will be in eastern Arkansas. So those storms are developing to the south, looking to intensify as they move east, looking to really be their most intense when they cross the Mississippi River. All modes of severe weather are going to be possible with what we see this afternoon, but I definitely think if we're going to see any impact, the hail threat would be the greatest probable impact for central and east central Arkansas. Damaging winds and a few tornadoes cannot be ruled out though. The storms looking to be out of here. I said on here by sunset, really before sunset. The models are at least in agreement that around the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock hour, those storms looking to be east of the Mississippi River. And then again, through the next couple of days, some nicer weather is coming through. You know, the storm system bringing a cold front through that'll bring some drier air. So temperatures are on the decline, but so is the humidity. It's been feeling pretty sticky the past couple of days. So we'll see some drier air in place for the middle part of your work week. Ending the work week in the middle to upper 70s. Again, we start to see rain chances returning by as early as Friday, where we can see some isolated flood risk on Friday, Saturday into Sunday, more spotty to scattered thunderstorm chances where we'll see more of that flood risk, but temperatures still a bit cooler than what we've seen the past couple of days, which is pretty nice. Now, we'll be back again this evening at noon, or this afternoon at noon, with another check-in of your forecast. I know the Storm Prediction Center is looking to update this map that has our severe risk, though the next update comes out in a couple of minutes at 11:30, so it'll be after when the stream is finished. But by the time we're joining at noon, if this map changes at all, you'll get to see those changes at noon, and we'll talk again through what's expected over the next couple hours. Make sure, especially if you live further east, you have multiple ways to receive warnings and you're staying safe. Our team will be here through the afternoon with more updates on what's to come. And if you don't have lunch plans, come make plans to join us on THV 11 at noon. We'll have your latest headlines as well as the weather updates again that'll be coming down with these maps if any changes are coming. In the meantime, hope you have a great afternoon.